Hi, so I promised you an Amma, and in typical me fashion, it's coming in about a week or so late. I did want some liquid luck for not being less awkward, but being less aware of being awkward. But too bad, I'll be driving later. Um, Most of you know me, and I'm not gonna say more about me right now, but I am going to get right to the questions. So the first one is from Jared, and the question is, how do you feel about ESFPs being over sexualized? And well, I don't really mind ESFPs being sexualized because we are very sensory and hedonistic and sexual, yes, as well. I mind being overly vulgarized. The thing is, just because we are sexual doesn't mean we're sexual with everybody, and we are not, of course, mostly. Some might be. Um, Next question is by Jean Philippe. If I wrote a book, what would it be about? Um, that's a funny one. I did used to want to be an author, and I would be the most generic of all generic things. I'd probably be writing something light fantastic, and it would probably be, well, maybe not a romance, but there would be sex. So it would be somewhere in the fantasy genre. Um, Mix a bit of everything, a bit of Stephen King, a bit of romantic novels, a bit of um, light porn, whatever. Um, the next one is from Hannah Ronikonmäki. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, but deal with it. And Hannah asks, what makes you feel bored and what do you think of boredom? Well, I'm not all that easily bored because I'm super distracted all the time and I can find something in the environment to promote daydreaming. So mostly I'm fine, but when I do get bored, it's during presentations or when I have to sit and listen or when something isn't interactive and I'm not free to wander off into La La Land. So I'm bored mostly at work because I have to read and listen and a lot of meetings, but otherwise, I just daydream. I find something to do as long as I'm free to move around. Then I just find something to do. I'm bored when I have to pay attention. Disclaimer, I do have ADHD though, so yeah, there. Next question is from Andrea Stedman. And the question is, what would your ideal romantic relationship be like? Wow, that's a tough one to describe. My best experiences are with other gammas, all except for ISFP. I don't have any experience there, but very laid back, action oriented. I do like some sort of security, but I don't know, do adventures, practical. Oh, the guy cooks. Um, I like when a person's able to talk to me and help me out. The thing is, I do want to find a direction to go in life in general, not just romantically. But I struggle to create that vision. So I do like when someone sits down with me and talks to me and helps me figure it out. Not in a way like, hey, now I'm gonna tell you what you gotta do, but lets me figure it out in a very kind of teaching, self help kind of way. And I do want kids, but I don't want to be the kind of mom that has nothing else in life. So basically, I don't know, partners in crime kind of thing. Okay, next question is from Jenny Childers. And the question is, whose famous ESFP you really feel a connection with? And which famous ESFP annoys you so much that you don't even want to acknowledge that they're an ESFP? With the famous ones, I don't know if I feel a connection with anyone in particular. Uh, I did really feel for Lily Allen when I watched the interviews to type her. She gets passionate about things, but she gets angry about them. She doesn't really bother about the words or how it affects others, and she has a sense of humor that I can subscribe to. Even just listen to some of her songs. I mean, Alfie is a nasty one if you consider that it's about her brother, but Not Fair is a fun one, and I could subscribe to that. So maybe Lily Allen, but I would have to read more about her or listen to her more. Otherwise, I tend to admire ESFPs that are less like me. Um, I I like the threes. I used to dig Elvis all through my childhood. I still dig Elvis. Elvis is the king. So that's one. I mean, obviously, he was also very unhealthy, but he was charming and he was an entertainer, and I do love that. But identifying with, I'm better with fictional characters, and some of them might kind of put me in the bad light, but it's very easy, too easy for me to understand Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones. And the other character, traditionally, and one who everybody will know, is Ron Weasley. Um, I've always been more of the sidekick character, but not because I wanted to be a sidekick, but because I tend to find friends who are more charming, stunning, whatever, and most people focus on them, and I'm just there like, oh yeah, hi. So probably Ron Weasley from the fictional ones. Um, Next question is from Rebecca. This is from Rebecca Massel, not Rebecca David. You have a pretty vibrant image of what a day in your life is like in 5 years into the future, and nobody expects this from inferior NI. What about your cognition allows you to do that? How is obtaining the reality of that vision a goal in your present day life? Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I remember that one. So the way that came about, I don't know if I ever knew exactly what I want future to look like, or to put a picture in it. It's difficult for me to build that or to work consciously towards that. But the best way for me to get there is to visualize. And generally, if there's input from someone else, I can build on top of that. And that one is a mixture of, well, basically, when I got together with one of my exes, he was like, oh, I want to marry you, I want children, and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know I want that until he said it, but when he did, did ring true. And even though we're not together and I don't want that kind of future with him anymore, it's still a future I do want. And I always wanted to work in film, not as an actress, but as a film director or possibly a producer or something from the creative aspect behind the scenes. So that's where it's just, I don't know, if it's like with everything. If you have a puzzle, I tend to struggle figuring them out if there's no example of what a solution is supposed to look like, but give me one or two pictures that I can build on and I can totally do that. So a day in the future is built on something I've heard in regards to myself, something I've always wanted ever since I was a kid, and an attempt to make things specific. I don't really know how else to explain it. Next question. Casey Taylor, how many colors have you dyed your hair? Over the course of time, probably many colors. I'm a natural brunette. I've always wanted to be a redhead ever since I was a kid, but that doesn't seem to work. And for the longest time ever, I didn't know whether I could dye my hair any lighter color than my natural one, because my hair is really super duper soft. But at one point, I decided, fuck it, if I ruin my hair, I can I can just shave it. I mean, I've got part of my head shaved now, so I decided to dye it blonde. First, it was blonde for a very long, horrible time, and it was a nasty color. I don't think blonde really suits me. But one thing I noticed ever since I dyed my hair blonde, people have been nicer to me. Apparently, I'm not a very likable person if I'm a brunette. And the colors I've dyed it since is various awkward colors of blonde. I've had pink hair, I've had turquoise hair, and now I'm blonde for indefinite time. I like the way people treat me when I'm blonde. And before that, I dyed it really dark brown. I dyed it ginger. I've dyed it various sorts of red. I don't know, that's a lot of colors. I suck at math. So that's part A of questions, and I have a part B where Karine asks, would it be Karine Poirier, or would you read it differently? Why is it important for you to be physically strong? It's a lot of things. Sorry for the barking. One thing is I hate relying on other people. I don't have a lot of good experience with that because I don't think it's that people would want to bail on me or that they don't care, but I've really been unlucky with the timing in the past. So I like to be able to handle everything on my own, take care of me on my own, and I also like the way it looks. I mean, my heroine all through childhood was Xena, the warrior princess, so I do like my muscles. Oh yeah, by the way, I am not a domestic violence victim. I actually live alone. This is just because I had a football match on Saturday. I think it was Saturday, yes, Saturday. And I like to hit hard and be a very punishing kind of linebacker. Unfortunately, the O-line also likes to be punishing, so that's me right now. But it's gonna disappear between now and Sunday, when is my next match. Well, yeah, so I like to be physically strong because I like the way it looks. I like muscles in women. It actually makes me feel more attractive having muscles, and because I like being self-sufficient, and when I accept help, that I know it's because it's convenient and I can afford to, not because I need to. So I like to trust in myself more than I do in other people. Josephine Anderson asks, what's your favorite movie or TV series and why? And that would take forever. I don't think I have a favorite of all favorites. Movie-wise, I would definitely put Quentin Tarantino in there. And for the longest time, I had a 50-50 situation between Pulp Fiction and between Reservoir Dogs, which are both my favorite from him, but ultimately, Pulp Fiction, I can watch it 150 million billion times and it doesn't get old. I just learn more quotes better. So yeah, I think my ultimate movie is Pulp Fiction. I know it's so cliche, but yes, Pulp Fiction. And what was the other one? Oh, the TV series. Well, I've seen a lot of them and I loved a lot of them, and I tend to sorry, change my opinion over time. One of my recent favorites was Stranger Things. I've always been into reading horror. I've read so many Stephen King books, and I like the atmosphere that's in there and how it's reminiscent of my childhood in a lot of ways. So that's one. And then I do like a lot of drama and ones with attractive guys in there. So I do watch Game of Thrones. I like its complexity, But one of my favorites, and I haven't seen the other half of it, is Supernatural. Because A, Dean is super sexy, B, it's fun, C, there's a little bit of adrenaline here and there, D, and he's got a super cool car. I mean, Chevrolet Impala from 1967, it's a hottie. So, yeah, that will probably be it. Of course, as soon as I finish this video, I'm gonna think of something else I wanted to say and I forgot. But for the moment, that's gonna be that one. And I have a couple of questions from John Paul. The first one is 3 words you associate with your childhood, and that would be freedom, rebel, menace. I don't know. I was a terrible kid in that all the other kids' moms hated me, even from when I was very little. I have a very dark sense of humor, and I'm very cynical, and it's not from life. I've been born that way. So apparently my best friend from kindergarten was absolutely terrified because of the things I told him. I used to recreate burial ceremonies for dolls and kill them so I could bury them. So yeah, but then I was, and I still am, a major tomboy. So climbing trees, building barracks out of leftover building materials, jumping off balconies with my best friend Augustine, and tagging along my little sister, who we used to prank a little bit. And I feel kind of sorry for that, but not really, because she had other things. Well, anyway, me and Augustine, we were chill to do anything. I mean, my mom's really relaxed, and his mom was a biker mom, so yeah, we could do anything, and as long as we don't get killed, they were fine. But nobody else was allowed to play with us because of that reason. Because we would build swings out of leftover cables and then test them down a hill on a tree, and we were the only 2 dexterous ones not to injure ourselves. What aspect of yourself you find challenging to develop? I would say I find it very difficult to develop any dexterous strategic thinking and creating and following plans. One of the worst things about me is I have 0 discipline. I mean, you can probably tell. I can show you this. I haven't unpacked it since I moved in. The luggage is full of stuff from moving. I'm just cleaning and defrosting the fridge, but if you can see the rest, it's a mess. So I'm not tidy, I'm not disciplined, I can't scheme for shit, and it would be convenient for me to be able to plan things out, so that's something I value, but I need to learn. Who is or who are the fictional characters you relate the most to? I did touch up on that. The 2 would be probably Ron Weasley and Theon Greyjoy. Why those 2? I don't know. Maybe because they're competitive. They want their attention and being in the spotlight, but they're also insecure and don't feel like they. I don't know. Well, both of them are pretty jealous of others, even if it's not really deserved. I mean, Ron, although he loves Harry, he's jealous of all the attention Harry is getting, and I do have that with a couple people. My middle sister isn't always was super smart, super everything. I mean, she's had talent for everything in the world, and I was so envious of all the attention she was getting for that, because anything I did, I had to put effort in. And Theon is jealous of Jon Snow, who doesn't have it easy either, but he wasn't able to see it. And it took me a long time and a lot of maturation to be able to get past envy. And it's something I still sometimes struggle with. And I mean, there's a lot of things. If you ever want to talk about it or bring it up in conversation, feel free to tag me. I will talk to you. Um, what kind of things have sentimental value to you? Um, on the whole, I'm not a very sentimental person. There's not a lot of things that I would go like, oh my god, I remember the time when I would tear up. For me, the past is the past. I don't really think about it all that often. It doesn't really matter to me. Uh, so sentiment as such, I don't know. I guess there's probably a few things that I wouldn't want to throw away, but right now I really struggle to think of anything that has value to me sentimentally. I don't know. Photographies and pictures is something that I tend to store and keep, and the thing is, I have very, very poor memory. I always take in senses and evaluate my environment and focus on what's happening right here, right now, being aware of everything around me that can affect me and that I can affect. And part of that is, since I'm able to perceive all of them at once, I'm also able to let go of them all at once, because as soon as it's gone, it's not important and it doesn't figure. So why would I have to recall it? So I just move on, and it's the same with a lot of other things. So for me, unless it's a text message, for example, which I can read and understand the context and in a way recall the memory exactly, or if it's unless it's a picture, then nothing really. I'm just not a sentimental person. I'm a very emotional one, but not a sentimental one. Um, do you prefer to give specific directions that you want to be rigidly followed, or general directions and let your subordinates improvise? Well, for one, I don't have subordinates. I'd love to have minions though. That would be kind of cool, right? So, when I do have to work with someone, I don't know. I guess general ones. Yeah, if I need anyone to do something, I'm gonna say, yeah, okay, so you're gonna find the bucket in there, and you need to get this done, but just basically do it in your own time, in your own way. But on the other hand, I do like getting instructions, not only in like, okay, this is what you have to achieve, but I do like getting steps to work through. I'm process oriented, but I'm not very like fixed. I can adapt very easily, so I like, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. Depends. I don't like very micromanaging people, so I guess general would be better than super specific. And I do not believe in rigidly following anything at all, ever. What are your spiritual inclinations? Oh, okay. Well, I grew up in a family with Christian background, but not even my mom's a believer. She was always kind of a searcher kind of person who experimented a lot, from esoteric through astrology, through Buddhism, through God knows what. I did get in on Buddhism quite a lot. And that's probably the values I still follow. I try not to hurt other people, either in what you call it, intentionally or through negligence, and that's something that stuck with me for a while. I did try Islam, but please don't challenge me on it. I do not want to talk about it. I'm fine with people having this religion. I do not feel that way anymore. So I don't know. I tend to experiment with something that will work for me, but I'm very bad with following through a specific framework, whether it's religion or anything. So I experiment, I see what works for me. If it does, I integrate it. If it doesn't, I don't, and I drop it. But I do not create frameworks for myself, whether spiritual or otherwise. And what of the four nature elements, fire, air, earth, water, you resonate with the most? I don't know. I think I'd be a combination of all of them, I hope. Um, I think I'm more of an earthy type of kind of person. I'm very physical, so I guess that's it. But I'm also kind of fiery. I mean, you can't often tell. I mean, I have super, 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 super short temper, but I'm also able to bite my tongue because in my family, as much as I'm pissed off all the time, there's people who are even more reactive than me. Uh, my family is all very temperamental. I mean, I have three younger sisters, and they're all extroverted judges. So I am fiery, but mostly I keep it for stuff like American football. Or before that, I used to attend kickbox classes, and I went through there. So I'd say a combination of probably dominantly earthy with a bit of fiery aspect. I mean, if you've ever seen me, I do get pissed off quite a lot. Um, Give five features you admire the most in a person. Um, well, I admire sense of humor, intelligence, I don't know, compassion towards others, tolerance, and I don't know how would I describe the last one, badassery. Uh, I like when people know how to fend for themselves and maybe just confidence. I really do adore confidence in people, and I admire it. Um, so the last question I have is from Annie Yudnich, or Yudnik. I don't know how you would pronounce it. How did you figure out that you were an ESFP? So, going off of the stereotypes of ESFPs, what are some of the biggest ESFP things you like to do? What are the ESFP things that don't describe you at all? Are there any other types that you relate to, or ones that you once thought you were? All right, so let me think about this one. Even when I first took the test, it was very, very, very fucking obvious that I'm an SFP. Shut up, dog. Come on. So I'm super, super, super sensory, like hypersensory. I like reacting to the environment. I have very, very strong personal values. And I improvise like 24/7. I can't plan for shit. So it was obvious that I'm not a judger whether TE dominant or FE dominant or anything, but I did think I was an introvert. I don't interact in groups initially. I tend to listen in for a while to see what are the paradigms of a certain group and see if there's anything I want to contribute. I despise small talk, so a lot of conversations I just won't bother being part of. So, and I'm not as assertive as my sisters, for example, who are all extroverted. So I thought, damn, I must be an introvert, right? And I still don't like a lot of people, and I avoid a lot of people, and I prefer doing stuff on my own than having to wait around for others to make decisions and discuss it and um, that sort of thing. So, yeah, basically, I don't have patience with people, and I prefer being on my own than being with people I don't really care for. As in, I'm extremely exclusive about the groups I hang out with and interact with. But from a cognitive perspective, I think I'm SE dominant. The primary thing for me is reacting to anything, being in the here and now, and yes, I do like people and I like groups of people, but I'm very exclusive about who they are. So there haven't been that many that I would be a part of, and especially in certain times in my life, I just didn't find the people that I would click with. What else was there? Biggest ESFP things that you like to do. Anything that could be considered decadent in excess. So I like to fuck, I like to eat, I like to sleep, I like to go on adventures, and whether that's horse riding or playing American football. Oh, I love American football, if you haven't figured yet, because I get to be right there, right now. It doesn't matter how much I've studied or not studied or whatever, it doesn't matter as long as I'm able to read the environment first, if I'm able to see what's happening and react to it. And I love exerting force and pressure and seeing how the world changes around me in reaction to what I do. So I guess that would be it. I mean, one of the things I adore doing is going to the cinema. I mean, I usually go alone because I hate planning to go to the cinema. I'm more like, oh, this show's in 15 minutes. Yeah, I can make that. So, that, and I like dressing interesting. I like colorful stuff. I like provocative stuff. And I like anything that stimulates my senses. But I do have values. I mean, strong intrinsic values. As I said, I don't do anything that I would know that purposefully hurts others. And of the traditional, I don't know, what do ESFPs do for fun? I used to party a lot when I was younger, drink a lot, but I've never been promiscuous. I mean, it takes me this amount of time to decide if I want someone and if I like someone and if there's potential, but that doesn't mean I screw around. I've always been very exclusive. But I don't party anymore. Part of that is because I had mono 2 years ago, and ever since then I just get so tired so early, so easy. And after about 11 or 12 p.m, there's no point talking to me because I just get really bitchy because I'm tired. What was there? The ESFP things that I don't subscribe to. Well, the thing is, I don't believe in all the stereotypes and they drive me mental. And yeah, the stereotypes is that ESFPs are a bit of a whore, and no, I don't whore around. Other types I thought I was an ISFP, and I've never had any doubt about anything else. So that was always pretty clear to me. I mean, I did want to ask you guys if you have any opinions about my type. Feel free to share, whether that be MBTI or Enneagram or instinctual variants or whatever you want to say. So feel free to chip in. Anyway, thanks for the attention. I thought this would take about 5 minutes. It's almost 35 in. Who made it all the way here? Thanks and kudos. That's a lot of attention. Now I'm gonna drink my cold coffee because I was yapping and I felt like burping like half through the video, so I'm gonna finish now so I can do that. Cheers and bye. Mwah.